Take a slow breath in and let it go gently. There is no rush tonight, no task waiting, no sound demanding your attention. You are safe here, listening, resting, drifting. Tonight, we are not entering a world of loud battles or dramatic events. Instead, we are stepping softly into ordinary lives, lives lived quietly, carefully, and slowly. Long before banks, before vaults, before numbers lived inside machines, people still owned things they cared about. A few coins earned through long days of work, a ring given in marriage, a folded letter with fading ink, a tool passed down through generations. And they had to protect these things not with technology, but with thought, habit, trust, and patience. So tonight, as your breathing grows slower, we will gently explore how people in the past stored their valuables, not in dramatic ways, but in calm, practical, and surprisingly intimate ones. Let your eyes grow heavy, let the night do its work, and let us begin slowly. In the modern world, value often feels invisible. It hides behind screens, passwords, accounts that exist only as light and code. But in the past, value had weight. You could feel it in your hand, hear it clink softly. Wrap it in cloth and tie it with string. For most people, valuables were not piles of gold. They were small, personal, quiet. A handful of coins, a silver pin, a knife used every day. A written agreement carefully folded. Even simple objects could be precious, because replacing them was difficult, time-consuming, sometimes impossible. And so storing valuables was not a single action. It was part of daily life, a habit repeated again and again, where you placed something mattered, who knew about it mattered even more. The safest place most people knew was home. Homes were not crowded with furniture. Every item had meaning. Every corner was familiar. Wooden chests were common in many cultures. They were sturdy, heavy, often reinforced with iron bands. These chests served many purposes. They held clothes, tools, bedding, and quietly beneath layers of fabric they held valuables. Coins were wrapped in cloth, sometimes tucked into small pouches, placed beneath heavier items. The weight of the chest itself acted as protection. Moving it made noise, opening it took effort. And at night, the chest rested close to where people slept. Some homes had loose stones in the floor, or wooden planks that lifted slightly easier than others. These were not accidents. Over time, people learned the hidden language of their homes, which board creaked, which stone could be lifted, which wall felt hollow. Valuables might be placed inside small cavities, covered carefully, hidden again. To an outsider, nothing looked unusual, but to the owner, everything made sense. This kind of security relied on memory, not locks. And memory was strong because it was practiced daily. Thick stone walls offered quiet opportunities. Small niches were carved during construction, covered later with wood or cloth. Sometimes tapestries hid more than decoration. Behind woven scenes of nature or faith, coins rested in silence. Ceilings too held secrets. Between beams above reach, pouches were tied carefully. Wrapped to prevent sound, the home itself became a living container, holding not just people, but their most important possessions. One of the oldest methods of storage was burial. Not burial of bodies, but of objects. Across cultures, people trusted the earth. It was cool, still, and rarely disturbed. Coins were sealed in clay jars, covered with wax or pitch, a garden corner, the base of a tree near a hearth. These spots were chosen carefully, remembered carefully. Many buried treasures found today were never meant to be lost. Their owners likely planned to return. But at the time, the earth felt safe. It kept secrets quietly. Religious spaces offered another form of protection. Churches and temples were rarely empty. Candles burned. Voices whispered prayers. Theft from such places carried moral weight, fear of punishment beyond the physical world. People sometimes stored documents or jewelry there, not publicly but through trust, a priest, a monk, a caretaker. These were relationships built over years. The church did not feel like an institution, it felt like a guardian. When people traveled, they carried their wealth with them. Money belts were common, worn beneath clothing, tied close to the body. Coins were sewn into hems, hidden in folds. Jewelry was worn discreetly, never displayed openly. Sleep came lightly during travel. Hands rested near belongings. Protection came through closeness. Locks existed long before modern banks. They were mechanical, heavy, straightforward. Keys were large and visible, often worn openly. Losing a key mattered, but people knew their storage places well. Security was personal, not abstract. Valuables were not only wealth, they were memory. A ring carried a story. A tool carried family history. These items were wrapped gently, placed carefully, often near where people slept. Knowing they were close brought comfort. Now, as this part of our story grows quiet, imagine a small home at night. A chest rests in the corner. A candle burns low. Inside the chest, simple objects lie quietly, wrapped, safe. Outside, the world is still. Let your thoughts slow. Let the past soften. There is nothing to protect tonight, nothing to hide, only rest. Returning gently to the past as you rest, let your breathing stay slow and even. We are still in that quiet world, where nights were darker and mornings arrived softly with the sun. People slept close to their belongings, not because they feared the night, but because closeness brought comfort. And now, as we continue, we'll move gently through villages, towns, and small cities, listening to how trust, routine, and quiet habits protected what mattered most. Shared trust in small communities in small villages, everyone knew one another. This closeness shaped how valuables were stored. People did not live anonymously. Faces were familiar. Voices were recognized. If someone owned a silver cup or a set of fine tools, everyone already knew. And strangely, this visibility offered safety. The community itself became a kind of watchful presence, not harsh, not controlling, just aware. Doors were often left unlocked during the day. Chests were closed, but not always locked. Because trust was woven into daily life, the role of family and generations' valuables often belonged not to individuals, but to families. A ring passed from parent to child. A document proving land ownership, a tool used by many hands over time. These items were stored with shared knowledge. Everyone knew where they were kept, and everyone felt responsible. Sometimes valuables were stored in the oldest part of the house, near the hearth, the symbolic heart of the home. Fire warmed, fire protected, fire watched. Storage in furniture and everyday objects. Not all hiding places were secret. Some were clever. Beds with hollow frames, benches with hidden compartments. Tables with drawers that blended into the wood. Craftsmen understood the value of concealment. They built it into everyday furniture. A chest might appear simple, but inside, false bottoms existed. Only the owner knew where to press, where to lift, where to slide. These designs weren't meant to fool experts. They were meant to delay, to discourage, to protect quietly. The sound of security in a world without alarms, sound mattered. Chests creaked when opened. Metal hinges groaned softly. Floorboards spoke under pressure. People listened instinctively. At night, silence was deep. Even small noises carried far. And so, security came from awareness, not technology. Storage in workshops and places of work, many people stored valuables where they worked. A blacksmith's workshop, a tailor's room, a merchant's stall, tools and valuables blended together, coins hidden among weights, documents rolled inside cloth bolts. To an outsider, everything looked ordinary. Workspaces were active during the day, quiet at night, familiar, and familiarity created safety. Merchants and early trade storage. As trade grew, so did the need for careful storage. Merchants traveling long distances faced new challenges. They couldn't bury valuables everywhere. They couldn't always rely on home, so they formed networks, trusted inns, known households, reliable storage rooms. Merchants left goods with people they trusted, returned weeks or months later. Written records were simple, but memory and reputation mattered more. Seals, symbols, and ownership. Without banks, proof of ownership was important. Seals were used widely, a stamped piece of wax. A carved symbol pressed into clay. These marks identified belongings. Chests bore family symbols. Tools carried distinctive engravings. If something went missing, it could often be recognized. This discouraged theft quietly. Royal and noble storage. For nobles and royalty, storage was different but still surprisingly simple. Castles had strong rooms, thick walls, limited access. But even there, valuables were stored in chests. Keys were held by trusted individuals, stewards, chamberlains. Access was controlled by routine, not secrecy, daily checks, written inventories. Personal responsibility. Women and the care of valuables in many households. Women managed storage. They knew where everything was kept. They organized, wrapped, protected. Keys often hung from belts worn at the waist. These keys symbolized trust and authority. The sound of keys moving was familiar, comforting. Order was maintained through attention, not force. Children and learning about value. Children learned early. They watched adults hide coins, wrap objects, choose places carefully. They learned not to speak openly about valuables. Not out of fear, but out of respect. These lessons were gentle, passed quietly. Value was understood, not flaunted. Nighttime and the sense of safety at night, valuables rested, homes grew quiet. Candles dimmed, chests were closed, keys placed nearby. People slept with awareness but not anxiety. The rhythm of life was predictable, and predictability brought peace. When valuables were lost sometimes, despite care, things were lost. Buried jars forgotten, keys misplaced, homes abandoned. These losses were accepted calmly. They became part of the earth. Part of history. Not every loss caused panic. Life continued. The slow arrival of change over centuries. Towns grew larger, trade expanded, people traveled farther. Old methods still worked, but slowly they became strained. The idea of centralized storage emerged, not suddenly, but gently. And yet, even as banks appeared, people still trusted their chests, their homes, their habits. A gentle pause before the next part, and now, as this part of our journey settles, imagine a quiet street at night, stone houses, soft shadows. Inside one home, a chest rests beneath a window. Inside the chest, small, ordinary treasures. Nothing extravagant, nothing loud, just enough. Let your breathing slow again, let your thoughts soften. In the next part, we'll continue drifting through time, exploring how fear, superstition, and belief shaped storage, and how even the simplest rituals offered comfort. For now, rest. Drifting deeper into quiet beliefs as the night deepens, let your body rest a little heavier. In the past, storage was not only practical, it was emotional and often spiritual. People believed the world was full of unseen forces, luck, fate, protection, misfortune, and so how valuables were stored was shaped not only by logic but by belief. Protective rituals and gentle superstitions. Before placing coins into a chest, some people whispered a prayer. Others placed herbs inside pouches: rosemary, sage, lavender. These herbs were believed to protect, to calm, to ward away bad fortune. Not everyone believed strongly, but many followed the customs anyway, because ritual itself brought comfort. A coin wrapped carefully felt safer than one tossed loosely. The hearth as a place of safety. The hearth was more than a fire. It was warmth, food, family. Many valuables were hidden near it. Not inside the flames, but beneath stones close by. The hearth was always watched, rarely disturbed. Its presence alone felt protective. And at night, as the fire faded to embers, people slept peacefully knowing their valuables rested close. Luck, direction, and placement. Some believed direction mattered. Objects placed facing east welcomed good fortune. Facing west brought calm endings. Coins might be stored according to the phases of the moon. Documents placed on certain days. These beliefs were quiet, personal. They did not interrupt daily life. They blended into it. Containers that meant more than storage. Not all containers were equal. Some chests were inherited. Used by grandparents and their grandparents before them, these chests carried stories, scratches, marks from travel. Placing valuables inside them felt meaningful. They were trusted not because of strength, but because of history, storage, and social class. The way valuables were stored varied by class, but not as much as we might expect. The wealthy had more, but they stored things in similar ways. Chests, rooms, trusted people. What changed was scale, not method. Even nobles relied on human trust, on routine, on memory. And sometimes they lost things too. When trust was broken, theft did happen, but it was rare enough to be notable. When it occurred, it disrupted not only ownership, but relationships. Trust was harder to rebuild than wealth, and so prevention focused on discretion. Valuables were not discussed openly, not displayed unnecessarily. Silence was protection. Storage during travel and war, softly told, during uncertain times people simplified. They carried only what mattered most. Coins were divided, some hidden, some carried. This way loss would not be total. Even in uncertainty, calm planning remained. Letters, documents, and fragile valuables, not all valuables were heavy. Paper mattered too. Letters were wrapped in cloth, placed in wooden boxes, sometimes sealed in wax. Important documents were rolled, not folded, to prevent damage. These items were often stored higher away from damp floors. Care was gentle, thoughtful. The role of silence and routine, the strongest security was habit. Placing valuables in the same spot every day, checking them quietly, not changing routines suddenly. Routine made absence noticeable, and noticing quickly mattered. Night watch and community awareness. In some towns, night watchmen walked slowly. Their presence wasn't threatening, it was reassuring, a soft call, a lantern moving. People slept knowing someone was awake. Community itself was a lock. Aging, memory, and letting go. As people aged, they simplified further. Valuables were passed on early, given intentionally. Storage shifted from protection to legacy. Objects were placed where others could find them, because value was no longer about ownership, but continuation. The quiet passage of time. Over years, homes changed. New owners moved in. Walls were rebuilt. Floors replaced. Hidden objects remained. They slept beneath feet, inside walls, inside earth. Waiting patiently, a slow breath before continuing. Now pause again. Imagine dust settling in a quiet room, a chest untouched for years. Inside, objects remain exactly as they were placed. No urgency, no fear, just stillness. In the next part, we will gently explore how forgotten storage became discovery, how modern hands found ancient care, and how the past still whispers through what it protected. For now, rest. When the past is found again as time moved forward, slowly, almost without notice, many of the places where valuables were once hidden were forgotten. Homes were rebuilt, walls were repaired. Floors were replaced, and beneath all of that quiet change, objects remained. Coins wrapped in cloth, rings sealed inside jars, letters never read again. They waited patiently. Not lost, just resting. Accidental discoveries. Most hidden valuables were not found intentionally. They appeared during repairs, while digging gardens, while rebuilding old homes. A stone lifted, a floorboard removed. A wall opened, and suddenly there it was, not dramatic, not glowing, just an object exactly where it had been placed centuries before. The care was still visible, the wrapping, the placement. A silent message from the past. How archaeologists read quiet choices. When archaeologists uncover these items, they do not rush. They observe carefully. Why was it placed here? Why wrapped this way? Why sealed so tightly? From these quiet decisions, they learn how people lived, what they feared, what they trusted, what they valued. Not kings and wars, but daily life. Patterns that repeat across cultures. What's gentle and fascinating is how similar storage methods were across places that never met. Europe, Asia, the Middle East, Africa, people buried coins. Used chests, trusted walls and floors. Human instincts were shared, protection through familiarity, safety through routine. The calm logic behind simple choices. Without banks, people thought differently. They asked simple questions. Can I see this every day? Can I reach it easily? Will it stay dry? Will others ignore it? Security was practical, grounded. No complex systems, no abstraction, just thoughtful placement. Objects that were never retrieved. Some valuables stayed hidden forever. Owners moved, fell ill, passed away. Sometimes no one else knew. These objects became time capsules, not meant for us but found by us. And when we hold them today, we feel the quiet intention behind them. Museums as the new safe places today. Many of these items rest in museums, behind glass, carefully labeled. but once they rested beneath hearths, inside walls, under floors. Their journey from home to museum is slow and respectful. They are no longer protected by secrecy, but by shared care. What we learn from old storage habits, these quiet practices teach us something. Security does not always require complexity. Trust can be layered, care can be calm. People protected what mattered without panic. They accepted uncertainty and worked gently around it. Modern echoes of ancient habits. Even today, people hide spare keys, store letters in boxes, keep objects close while sleeping. We haven't changed as much as we think. We still want closeness. Familiarity, reassurance. The instinct remains. The emotional weight of objects. When an old object is found, it often carries emotion, not excitement but curiosity. Who placed this here? What were they thinking? Did they feel calm or cautious? The answer is often both. The quiet respect of rediscovery. When we uncover old storage places, we usually pause because it feels personal. We are touching someone's private decision, and instinctively we move gently, returning to the night now. Let's return slowly to our quiet night. Imagine an old house again, walls thick, floors solid. Inside, some objects are visible, others hidden, all of them at rest. Time passes outside, but inside, everything remains calm. A soft transition toward the end. In the next and final part, we will allow the story to close gently. We reflect quietly on trust, on letting go, and on how safety sometimes comes from acceptance rather than control. For now, let your breathing slow. Let the past soften into sleep. The quiet understanding of safety. As the centuries passed, people slowly came to understand something simple. Perfect safety did not exist. No lock was absolute. No hiding place eternal. And yet life remained calm, because safety was not built on certainty, but on acceptance. People did what they could, they chose wisely, and then they rested. This gentle understanding shaped how valuables were stored, not with fear, not with obsession, but with balance. Letting objects rest. Many people believe